Blog Talk Radio.
Here we go with the main event of the evening. Ladies and gentlemen in attendance, boxing fans joining us around the world. It's time for the bout you've all been waiting for. Finally, it is showtime.
Here, man, we dedicate our life to this sport. We do thousands of sit-ups in camp. We run hundreds of miles, for the ones that take it serious. And we just dedicate ourselves fully to our craft, man. We watch tape. We attitude, we rooting, and we go into that fight just to land on the line.
Boxing fans, this is the Rope-A-Dope Radio Podcast. I am your host, Chris Carlson, getting off to a little bumpy start there. Sorry about that. We are back. We are live on a Tuesday, a little bit later than I've been doing them. I actually just got back not that long ago, but I had to do a couple of items and prep for some stuff and whatnot. But we are back. Like I said, welcome back to the show. And once again, I just want to, send a shout out to everybody. My thoughts go out to everybody that's been struggling during this time. It hasn't been easy. I've been just trying to be a distraction when there is no live sports, and that's what I've been trying to do. So I appreciate, just in general, I appreciate everyone that's listened to the show. Some people from day one, some people the last chunk of years, whatever it is. But especially a shout out to the people that I've been listening to it during the last couple of months with no boxing. So I really appreciate that. Like I said, we are back. A lot of stuff going on in general here in Minneapolis as well. I went to a protest a couple hours ago. I'm pretty sure you guys know what it's all about. Got a little ugly with the tear gas and rubber bullets, and it did seem like somebody, I think it was I want to say it was a police window, a car that got hit with a rock, or I'm not quite sure. But stuff was going on, that's for sure. So little behind. Then we had literally like 30 minutes ago, a tornado warning. Luckily, it was south of here. Hopefully, everybody's okay. Like probably 20 minutes, actually, in my hometown, Apple Valley, Egan area. So hopefully everybody's okay. But anyway, I got some boxing to talk about. Enough about my day. Let's get into it. By the way, the number to dial is 646-381-4990. That's 646-381-4990 if you want to listen to the show live, not just in the browser. Tonight, I got a couple of different topics. One of them has to do with DAZN. Not just DAZN USA, but DAZN in general. DAZN coming on a little bit of financial issues of late. Will DAZN be able to survive it? I mean, to be fair, it was already an uphill battle for DAZN USA. Worldwide in Japan and Italy and a couple other countries, they really started to seem like they were, making a foothold. They're well over 1 million subscribers in Japan. Like I said, in Italy, they had their top flight soccer, football programming and whatnot. But as far as here in the States, when it comes to boxing or any other sport that they had planned on investing on, they wanted to expand at some point here, not just boxing. So we're going to kind of, with some detail, talk about just a couple of issues with the finances. It does look like the multi-billionaire, I think he's like 16 or 20 billion dollars, somewhere in that way, worth. Obviously, he doesn't have that exact money. He's looking to sell a stake, like a major stake in the company for an influx of cash, or to sell the company outright, not even having to do with exactly DAZN USA. So we're going to talk about that in general. As we know, they've spent, well, that's, about a year ago, something like that. I think a little bit more, actually. The information came out that they, over a 5-year stretch, and like I said, they've already gone over one of the years plus, 1+ year. But over a 5-year stretch, they owed $6 billion in licensing fees, basically what they already have earmarked. So you're looking at $1.2 billion a year just for the content. And that's worldwide, of course. Like I said, they've had a couple of countries that they did really well in. It's been mixed review and not great here in, the U.S., obviously, where they were trying to, like I said, get a foothold in it. So they've spent well over $500 million, or at least have it earmarked contract-wise here. Now, obviously, if let's say it went out of business in a year or something, I'm not sure exactly how the settlement would work there. But they have spent well over $500 million, way more than the PBC and Al Heyman spent years ago. They haven't even spent that much yet. And maybe they have now with some of these guarantees. But so we're going to kind of dive into that subject. They're having financial issues. Will they survive? Not just DAZN USA, but overall. So we'll talk about that. Last week, there was this article from the Grueling Truth that had the top 20 uncrowned champs. But when I went to open it, it was just giving me issues. So I will cover that a little bit there. Floyd Mayweather and Devin Haney were seen training together. And Gervonta Davis was not too pleased with that, although I saw clips of a couple of different people training with him. I think some of them, because I think one of them was Broner. So I think some of them were old clips. So we'll talk about that. Speaking of Broner, he's on strike, as we know. He's got a new occupation. So we'll talk about that. I'll give you some more boxing schedules, boxing return updates as well. Definitely some good news there. Some really not great news. This whole Mike Tyson thing return and Holyfield and all that, it's really caused the media and fans to get, some of them to get really excited about it. Like they'd be willing to pay pay-per-view. Now, if it's charity, that's one thing. If it's an exhibition, that's one thing. But the way they describe this stuff, especially Tyson, I don't know. I mean, Holyfield was talking about, Tyson will throw hands. I'll throw hands. Like, well, are we talking about with, like, big sparring gloves and headgear, or are we talking about just a straight-up fight for charity? There's been a couple of other offers thrown his way, Mike Tyson's way, but the WBC came out with a news update on this topic, and it has me scratching my head, but then again, this is sanctioning bodies in boxing, so maybe I shouldn't be scratching my head, right? I mean, some of this is just like, oh, really? So you're, okay. Eddie Hearn talked about a variety of things over the last couple of weeks, this last couple of days. He spoke about, his plan to have backyard brawls. No, just kidding. That was that video, right? But it literally in his backyard to set up a ring and do a couple of events this summer, which I think is a great idea. But he also brought up Wilder real quick to an extent that kind of makes you shake your head like, oh, okay, so with AJ, well, we'll talk a little bit about it. So, yeah, there is a couple of items that I'll get to. Of course, we'll cover some boxing Twitter with that boxing Twitter segment. People are starting to really dig that more and more. People sending me tweets, which I appreciate, and I put them in the running to be in the segment, or just, especially if you do it during the show, right? So, yeah, we'll cover some of that. Some folks want me to get after Rick Glazier. I can't do the Rick Glazier tweets every single episode. I just won't do it. I don't think I've done it for a couple weeks, but I'll see if I have some, but I'll see if we get to them. I believe I'll be able to give you some of those. Good old Rick Glazier tweets. This guy who's been around, boxing in, as a matchmaker and worked inside of it, yada, 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 with Don King especially. Now, he was a matchmaker for Don King when Don King, was kind of, I was going to say cement feet in there, but that doesn't really line up because I don't want Don to come back and be like, what'd you say about me? No, I'm just kidding. But when Don King clearly, for quite some time now, has lost his power in the sport. So I'm not trying to take away anything as far as accomplishments. I know some state Hall of Fames have put him in there. That's cool. That's fine. But as far as somebody that, is in the media and has all these inside information, most of the stuff he comes up with is a crock of shit. But a lot of media members, they'll actually get news, or some people will actually, whether they're full-time media or part-time media, will have them on the show, even though time and time again we've proven him wrong. So there is a variety of items we'll get to, folks. Like I said, the major topic is that DAZN financial stuff that we'll talk about. We've done a decent job detail-wise over the few years that it's been around DAZN, as far as DAZN USA. A little bit of information, as far as how they've done in, across the world and whatnot. So we've been tracking this for a little while now. It is funny that, the business media, especially the sports business media, they've done a great job giving detail, plenty of information out there, way more information than there was on the PBC and Al Heyman. But, man, you don't see those boxing writers, for some odd reason, have as many articles as they did based off some just random information, a fund update and stuff like that. But it's pretty funny how that works, man. There would be like a little leak of information somewhat, and they would go for it, and then they judge it off of that. They'd say, well, this is just another example. This is more proof. And it's funny. And well, we know why, because DAZN did pay parts of the media. And they've outright said it. And you could see, the Athletic, I like it, I subscribe, but clearly the boxing, they got a sponsorship through them, clearly. And we'll go into it further as well, but they are having, I want them to survive, by the way. As a hardcore fight fan, ever since like late April last year, the content they gave us was phenomenal. It was great. I mean, I don't want to see them go at all. And I'm not saying that they're gone, but this coronavirus, like I said, they already had an uphill battle, though. Before I get into this, though, if this is your first time listening to the Rope-A-Dope Radio podcast, welcome. I appreciate it. You can find it right here. It streams live on blogtalkradio.com/Rope-A-Dope Radio. It streams live at Archives. It's boxing heavy, but, we do offer football and basketball shows throughout the year if you're interested. But you don't have to just go to Blog Talk and listen to it in the browser or download it from there. You don't have to do that. You can find it all across the platforms there at Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, Player FM, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher, really across the board. We're also part of the Grueling Truth Sports Podcast Network, which can be found everywhere, including Spotify. You can use your Alexa through Spotify or TuneIn. Why don't you head on over to thegruelingtruth.com. They got a great sponsor over there, betnow.eu, with the promo code TGT. That's thegruelingtruth.com. It's boxing, it's football, it's basketball, it's baseball, it's everything in between. And one more item real quick. If you're thinking about cutting the cord, or you have and you're not quite happy, you want something, sounds like the NBA is coming back in July. You'll need ESPN for that and TNT. I got something for you. It's called AT&T TV Now. It's live streaming cable. They do have a 7-day free trial, so there's no annual contract. Either way, when you sign up, the plans start as low as $55 a month. You can stream it anywhere. They do have the cloud DVR, which comes in clutch. And then for boxing fans, Showtime's $11 through there, so that's a pretty good deal. It does seem like, at least the schedule they had up prior to this virus, it does seem like they were going to deliver more boxing rather than ShowBox, mediocre championship boxing, and Clarissa Shields. You know, those three things that was 2019, right? Well, it does seem like they're getting a little better. So this year anyway. It's called AT&T TV Now. Like I said, live streaming cable. However, if you're in a spot of the country where it's a very hit or miss strength, you know, up and down for your internet. It's one thing to archive something and watch it on Netflix. It's another live stream. There is AT&T TV Now. You can just Google it. Put your area code in there. It's available here in Minneapolis, Minnesota, in New York City, or in New York, parts of Florida, parts of California, all the way up to the Northwest in Seattle, other places like St. Louis in the Midwest. It's a growing platform. Like I said, you can just find out there by Googling it, AT&T TV, put your area code in there, see if it's there. Otherwise, AT&T TV Now, like I said, live streaming cable. Okay, so there are a couple of items that I'll kind of touch on, and then we'll get into more of the nitty-gritty of the main topic, kind of the format, you know, that I've been doing here in the last little bit. There is some folks in the queue. I will be getting to you very shortly. Shoot, I just lost my way there. Oh, weird. So I'll be with you in just a short little bit here. Like I said, we will be going over some DAZN financial stuff, just a variety of news. One that just gets to you right away is the WBC. Now, I'm not going to sit here. I'm sure the other sanctioning belts, I'm not letting them off the hook or anything like that. I'm sure that they'll rank Tyson when he comes back too. But Mike Tyson, we know this big return, right? We know this huge return that he's going to do. And it sounds like it's for charity. It sounded like an exhibition. Generally, exhibitions, when this takes place, are a handful of rounds. They got headgear on, bigger gloves. It's like a sparring session. The way they keep talking about it, it feels like it's going to be like a real fight. And also bare knuckle boxing and, you know, something out of Australia. Keep bringing Tyson offers and just a variety of stuff, dude. So the WBC came out. And by the way, I believe that's Lukey, so I'll be with you in a sec, Lukey, just so you know. The WBC said, hey, we're not going to take away anybody's dream to come back and all that. No, that's cool, you know. And that's fair. Tyson, Holyfield, all these guys have a right to come back if they want to. I think people forget about how Tyson went out the last couple of fights, or they don't forget about it. They obviously remember it, but they're just ignoring it, especially members of the media. You know, I've seen some folks, and actually I talked about this a couple of weeks ago. One media member had this article, which I agreed with, about Broner and how Broner's a con man and he shouldn't get the limelight anymore and you know, leave the main event. And obviously, if you put butts in the seats, you're going to be a main event. But I understood what he was saying. It's time to let, you know, other people shine in that. Even though when you fight Broner, it does allow you to shine to an extent. But, you know, I kind of agreed with a lot of what he said. Now, you know, like I said, it is what it is. As far as, hey, if you keep putting butts in the seats, you're going to get the main event. That's just how the world works. Capitalism works, right? But then the next day, this media member and others were all gung-ho for Tyson to come back. And it's like, do you remember? I mean, the non-effort almost against Lennox Lewis, that's one thing. And I'm not saying a non-effort. He went in there and tried. But, like, do we remember the last few fights of Tyson? And how he, you know, my head's not in it. I tried this, that, and the other, but I'm just done. Like, how many times did he con us down at the end of his career? So Tyson can come back because you're going to get more retweets and likes and replies on Twitter into your article. But Broner's the con man. But a 50-some-year-old dude who conned us then, and this whole he's in great shape. Yeah, I'm sure he is. He looks like he's in great shape, but boxing shape, doesn't he have a condition? Didn't he say he has this condition for his lungs and his breathing? And, that's why he got tired late in fights. I mean, so you think that's going to go away now when you're 50? I mean, I was one of the biggest fans of Tyson back in the day. I was younger and I was a fanboy of his. You couldn't tell me shit about him. That was a long ass time ago. But still, come on. But my whole point is the WBC said they'll rank him. So a guy hasn't fought in how many years? What was it, 2004, 2005? What was that McBride fight? Either way, come on, dude. You're going to rank him? And it shouldn't surprise me, but I also have to vent at times because, come on, dude. I get it. It's Tyson, dude. And I get George Foreman, and I get all that. But this is different, dude. Plus, George didn't get to a place in his career the first time around where he just garbage fight after fight after fight. He retired earlier before he took a bunch of beatings. I'm not saying he didn't take some beatings and didn't look, mediocre or some of his mental game was gone. That type of thing, because it was. Once he got knocked out, I'm sure his confidence wasn't there as much. And you could see it in the ring, but, I mean, this is ridiculous, dude. Come on, dude. The WBC is going to rank him, so he's going to be – where are they going to rank him? In the top 15? Is that what they mean? And like I said, I'm not just piling on the WBC. I'm sure the IBF. I'm sure the many layers of WBA and WBO and stuff like that. I'm sure that they will too, but it's just silly, dude. It's just silly. All these media members talk about safety and all that. You know what I mean? All these guys talk about it. And then this is what it happens. They want the frickin' retweets just like the rest of us. I mean, just like the rest of them anyway. And that's just how it goes. And I get it. But like I said, it doesn't mean I can't fucking complain about it. Doesn't mean I can't, speak on something that's so fucking clear. It is funny how that goes. But anyway, no, I'm not a big fan of Tyson coming back on the rail, like the way they're talking about like World War I or something, like, hey, or III, I guess I should say, huh? But it gets even a little bit more like, oh, really? Because Tyson's talking about some deals being close to being, I mean, here's from BoxingScene.com not even that long ago. About 3 days ago, Mike Tyson says deal nearly done for return, hints at a big name. Well, what's the big name? I mean, we've heard Tito Ortiz and other MMA guys, kickboxer guys that have been approached. He's 53 years old. 2005 was that Kevin McBride, the knockout loss. But supposedly for his potential ring return, it's going to be finalized soon. It talks about how he's going to raise money for charity, and I think that's great. He's talking about I feel better than I ever have. Talking to Lil Wayne, I weigh 120. I feel great. Well, dude, you haven't been punched in the face a bunch. You haven't gone through crazy training camps a bunch. Of course you feel good. I'm glad he's feeling good. I'm glad he's in a great mental place compared to 10 and 15 and 20 years ago. I'm ecstatic for that. I really am. But, I do like what he said. I'm going to take this money and help these homeless, and we're going to help these addicted brothers because I've been homeless, and that's great, man. You know what I mean? Holyfield, who's 57, says he's coming back. He released the camp stuff. I don't know. Here's another quote, him saying, nah, we got many guys. Listen, we got so many guys that want to do this. We're in calls. We're doing business with guys right now. You're not going to believe the names when the names come out sometime this week. We'll have a contract done, and whatever money we get, it's going to someplace else. I'm not going to make any money. Probably the company, my wife, because she's partnering with me, she'll make some money probably, but my money is going to charity. And maybe that is just setting stuff up and all that. I see what he's saying there. But once again, you know, I mean, the danger of this, we don't even need to get into the danger of this. I mean, obviously, in the risks, you know, involved, and like I said, all these media members telling us to care about all this other stuff, but then they don't put their foot down, or not enough of them don't put their foot down on this, because it's like, dude, are we fucking serious here? Like, is this really? Like, oh, wow, dude. It blows me away, but like I said, in the same breath, would. But, you know, it's not a big surprise there. But, yeah, supposedly he's coming back, man. And am I going to be interested? Am I going to talk about it on the show because he's doing it? Yeah, that way, yeah. I'm curious to see what we're talking about as far as rules and what this actually is as far as safety, too. That's what I'm more worried about. But I'm not going to pay pay-per-view for this fight. I'll give charity to whatever the charity is, sure. But I'm just not going to do it. You know what I mean? I'm just not going to do it. Like Silva, Wonderlick Silva, $10 million he's claiming from BKFC, Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. This is boxing scene again. President David Feldman stated in a recent interview that he plans to submit an increased offer to Tyson. Tyson's previously rejected a $20 million to compete in the bare knuckle. So, like, this stuff is real, and so he comes back and fights a UFC guy? That I can't lie. You know, I can't sit there and lie and act like it doesn't bug me a little bit. But like I said, if it's for charity, cool. And you know, Tito Ortiz says this is what he said. He was approached to fight Mike Tyson. MMA superstar is claiming that his team, or that the team behind Tyson, have reached out in discussions the scenario of a cross-sport boxing match. Now it keeps opening up to further potential damage. I mean, what exactly do they mean by that? I don't know. I am going to go ahead, and I see Lukey on here. I'm going to bring in Lukey from Lukey Boxing. Let me just tweak something real quick to make sure I'll be able to hear you. Hey, what's going on, Lukey? How the hell are you, man?
Hey, man, I was just sitting in my house, but I realized I never just call up to support you, man. So I just wanted to call in and say that I enjoy your show, and I listen, and I support. And I just wanted to drop in without you even knowing.
Well, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. And by the way, Lukey Boxing, YouTube, his website. Tell them kind of, you know, most people know you, but tell them a little information on you here, just so people that haven't breezed by the website and the YouTube page and the podcast. It's been really nice, and I sent you that text like, hey, dude, it's good to see you back. And you're putting out this extreme amount of content and quality content at that these last 2 months, man.
Well, I appreciate all the kind words you say, but, you know, at the same time, you're someone where when I get in the car and I go to do my essential work, your podcast is always in rotation if I can't listen to it live. For those that don't know, it's at Lukey Boxing. It's spelled correctly, Lukie. That's the right way to spell Lukey. And boxing is spelled Boxing, no slang. You can go to itrboxing.com. That is the website. You can go to the YouTubes and type in ITR Boxing, all one word. It'll bring up the stuff. We got exclusive interviews with fighters like Teofimo Lopez, my man Z-Wop, and many others during this pandemic. But what's up with my man Chris out in Minnesota? Is it hot in Minnesota?
You know, the temperature is going up. It's been pretty nice. We actually just about 20 minutes north or south had a tornado warning. I heard a little touchdown, but I think it was okay. I see some street lights out, but there was also that protest that I jumped in for about 45 minutes from that thing that happened yesterday, unfortunately. So I jumped in there, kind of jumped in, backing out, because, you know, I want to support, but in the same time, it is a little tough as we speak because of, being in a huge group like that. A lot of people did have their mask on and were trying to, but RIP George Floyd for one. But, yeah, that's kind of what I've been doing, man. I've been just trying to stay busy. The bar partially opens up patio-wise beyond, the to-go stuff and the brewery stuff that's selling growlers and whatnot, but it starts June 1st, so I will be going back for a shift or two, hopefully by sometime next week, and then hopefully in another month or so we can really hit the ground running. How about you, man? How you been during this stuff? It's been a crazy experience.
I'm holding it down. My mom's living with me. I got a beautiful, supportive, significant other through this, but once again, I wanted just to say that I appreciate all the support you show me through the years, that you've rocked with me when it was cool or not cool to be with me. And I just wanted to jump on tonight and just have a great conversation about boxing or whatever with you, because I think that friendship isn't a one-way street. And I was sitting here listening to your show on mute, and I realized I'd never just tapped in just to tap in with you. And you're someone I deeply respect in boxing. You're someone that has paved the way for me, and you're someone who's always been kind to me. So I just, once again, I can sit here and talk this, but I just want to talk about how this is really about you and the legacy you built in boxing and this great platform you bring to other people to bring them joy, especially in times like this. So I just wanted to thank you, Chris, for all that you do, bro.
Hey, man, I really appreciate it. And as you know, there's a lot of fakeness, not just on boxing Twitter, but behind the scenes when it comes to this. I mean, this is boxing, so you got to figure the layer behind the scenes isn't going to be on the up and up either. There's a lot of competition, and it's not healthy competition. It's ignorant competition sometimes, but you have always been real and truthful and just on the up and up, and there's not enough of you as well in this sport. And I don't know, what you just said, all those words are really overwhelming to me, and I really appreciate that, man. And but yeah, there's not a lot of people that you still contact, or you shoot a text once in a while, or say what's up or whatever, and you're definitely one of the real ones as well, dude. I mean, you're a real person, and you'll express what you feel. And like I said, you're not just doing it trying to get ahead on something or trying to make money or whatever it is. So I really appreciate that, man. Is there anything that... Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say something, and then we could talk a little boxing or whatever. I can just hop off. I just want to give you props. It's I came into this quarantine. My cousin killed himself. Then financial uncertainty. Then sanctions lift up. Then one of my friends is murdered. So it's my perspective, as opposed to a lot of these guys that are in their middle ages who just drink beer and want to get ahead in boxing. My perspective on life is different than people, because it's I've been, since I was young, I've been around tragedy, and I've been trying to give back to people, because I've felt what it's like, whether it's in boxing, but even outside of boxing. I felt what it's like to be scrutinized, marginalized, to go through grief, to go through pain, to not be able to use words to express myself. That's how I got into boxing. And I think the reason that the words that you conjugate with me is basically I've faced different circumstances a lot of people in boxing thankfully haven't had to face. So I'm just very straightforward, because that's what kind of God made me. So, but yeah, also, whatever you want to do with me, man, if you want me to talk about DAZN or anything for a quick hot minute, I'll give you a 16 bar and then jump off or whatever. So,
man, I'm sorry to hear your loss and some of that, man. Wow, that really hit you.
Oh, you don't got to trip. You don't got to trip, Chris, man. You don't got to trip.
No, I know. I just want to let you know that there are plenty of people out. Well, maybe not plenty of people. I don't know. But there are people like me that if you ever need to buzz anything by me, or you just feel like doing what you're doing right now, it's dope, man. It's dope. And yeah, I do want some 16 bars for sure. If I got Lukey on the pod, I got to get a 16, a hot one at that. We know it's going to be hot. But, yeah, what's your take on, Tyson coming back, DAZN, especially DAZN USA? I think they really put a foothold worldwide in a couple of these countries where I think that they'll be okay, especially when they have the football/soccer for us in the States, when they have that Italy league and they have some legit stuff, but man, it was going to be an uphill battle already having well over $500 million earmarked and some of it spent in a very short amount of time here in DAZN USA. And us as hardcore fight fans, since last August, they had really started to deliver a quality product better than, let's say, the first 6 to 9 months, and that takes a little time. But I really don't want to see it go in the next year or two because they do have a lot of fighters signed that I really like. And like I said, they've been putting on some damn good cards. But what are your thoughts, man? This is going to be a weird one. A lot of people just think, well, the guy's a billionaire. Well, if you're worth $16 billion or $20 billion, it's not like you got the cash on deck. You know what I mean? It's your worth. So I can't, he doesn't want to fork out $6 billion for this over the next 5 years, and now it's, that was about a year and a half ago. But what are your thoughts on where they're at right now and some of the behavior and what it may do here when they try to get the NFL package or something like that?
Well, I'm gonna approach this question differently than most people, so I'm gonna work backwards. So I'm gonna start in the most easy capacity for me to understand. The boxing gym closest to my house shut down today, so it's no longer in operation. They're probably going to come back, but at a much smaller scale, and that's just in a local community. Then I think a little bit broader, and when I've worked with really rich people, they've never been super generous for the most part to share their wealth. They'll pay you an adequate salary, but I've never been overcompensated per se by someone that was extremely wealthy where you think that might happen. So when I'm looking at DAZN and you say this guy's worth $1 billion, sure, the guy has the money, but if he doesn't probably see an economic return within the next 3 to 5 years, I don't think it's all about him just, okay, I can sustain. It's all about with business. It's about how do you flip something into a bigger asset for more money. And he could be looking right now at, oh, my God, I'm heading into a financial crisis. Could I unload this product or unload this service to another distribution avenue like an Amazon and Netflix? And I have no information on this. This is just how I'd tackle it if I were thinking this lane. And could I reimburse some of that money from that? I don't know, because it's like DAZN is the platform that is getting hit the hardest because they're the most unproven. Most of my friends, and I'm sorry I'm talking so much. I'm gonna shut up in a second, but most of my friends don't know what DAZN. Okay, most of my friends don't know what DAZN are or is. They've never really seen the logo. They don't watch boxing a ton. So DAZN requires hardcore fight fans to subscribe, but not just subscribe, to teach other people what the platform is. And let's keep it real, my man Chris. It's not the easiest platform to use. Like, for a streaming service, it's not the most intuitive one. Like, it ain't no WWE Network or Netflix. It's not the easiest thing. There is a learning curve to this product. So it's going to be interesting because they're going to have to put on some fights that merit people to subscribe, but then fighters are having the worst training camps of their lives right now because their gyms might not be open. They might have 2 weeks of training and go into a fight. So realistically, how could you pay a $100,000 fighter who might make $60,000 based off a no live gate? How could you expect him in a 50-50 fight on 4 weeks' notice of a camp with maybe no sparring?
Yeah, that's a great point. And when I hear Eddie Hearn or other folks say, well, we got to come back and we got to come back strong. Sure, I get that on the surface, but the way you laid it out, it's hard to deliver the best product. Like you said, even sparring partners, how are you going to bring them in? Opponents overall, as far as we know, it's not like there's a ton of talent in the U.S., sure, but a lot of people from all over the world come here and fight, or is an opponent to come here and fight, or is a top-level fighter like Lomachenko stuck So you're right, man. I mean, what kind of product can you actually expect, you know, but yet you say, oh, we're going to get you in a 50-50, but they just started training. I think you're right, man. I want them to come back strong, sure, but there's you got to be realistic too, because we're not the ones spending the money.
Let's make some fights. Let's all make a fight right now. If Teofimo comes back, why doesn't he fight Mike Reed? Because that's a southpaw, and that's a style that gets him ready for Lomachenko. And realistically, in theory, that's a good fight, but the fans won't like it. But that's a fight that can be made in the U.S., and it's a southpaw opponent that gets him ready. That's like the best case scenario fights, I think, realistically we're looking at, unless you get like maybe here's another fight. This is like a good fight. Luis Feliciano of Golden Boy versus Pablo Cesar Cano. Maybe we might get a couple of fights where it's guys in the same spot. They're maybe not demanding a super salary, but they could elevate. But that's about as sexy as the fights we're going to get.
I 100% agree, and I like that fight, and then fight in the fall or a little bit later, fight Loma when he can actually get over here. You're right. I think that's a great one. And the ones that the fights that got postponed that they already had the signed contract, especially at the below, say, 135 and even, you know, lighter than that, obviously, where you're not spending a lot on these guys anyway, because that's the weight class. That's what, you know, there's not, like you said, too many main attractions down there. I think if you've already had a contract signed and you give them, kind of like Espinoza said, a little, you know, runway to give them a 7-week, you know, full camp or 8-week full camp and schedule it late July and just say, hey, this is what we're going to do. I like that idea too. And I think that's the best fights we're going to probably get are the ones that are the fighters that are still here and had a contract signed already, Prograis, Hooker, that type of thing. Otherwise, I think you're right about the stay busy or a pretty decent fight. But to ask to 50-50 on a short camp, it doesn't make sense. And like you said, you know and I know, that night, boxing Twitter is going to be dumping on it like it's a piece of shit, you know?
Well, my other question with the contract thing is, how does an act of God, a force majeure, change a contract that was already signed? So, like, let's say Progress knows that Jose Ramirez might need an opponent because Josh Taylor can't come to the U.S. So is he forced to fight Hooker now? Or is there leeway for if he could fight Jose Ramirez, he could jump into that fight? Because that might be, in his mind, a more compelling fight. Because I think a guy like Jose Ramirez, I should really stop doing top-rank fighters so that it doesn't sound like I'm just doing top-rank, like Otha Jones or a Matchroom fighter or who's a PBC. I'll give you a good one. Gary Antoine Russell, right? A guy that's very good. This should be his year that propels him to a world title. He's 13-0, 13 KOs. He should be active and getting there. Charles Conwell, there's tragedy to his career, but he should be getting there. Where do these guys that are on the brink get their superstar moment or their crossover moment to fight one of these named guys? And I feel what sucks for them is they're going to be fighting on the undercard when they were probably going to get their step-up fight, because who wants to fight the young, hungry, unproven guy when there's a financial recession going on?
Yeah, it's a great question about the contract. And, you know, I guess my thing with the contract, not that they get the exact money, but at least they had something in place that they were willing to fight each other. At least they were in a camp heading towards it, and now they have a little bit better idea. But that's a great point. We'll probably find out minorly information as it comes out about what does that say when, you know, something comes through like this. What is the language in the contract, and how does it apply to this? Is the fight off? Like you said, that's a good point. And you're right, there are a lot of fighters that are trying to become contenders this year. And like you said, maybe even by the end of the year they would have had a title shot. Where do they go? You're right. There's not going to be – if you're going to get less money to fight at more risk, especially a guy under you per se, rather than, I want that bigger fight. If I'm going to get paid and I'm going to take a risk, I might as well go against the harder fight right now rather than, or not harder, but a bigger name type fight or a title or whatever. Yeah, a lot of this is going to have to be figured out, and it's going to be hit or miss. But I really hope that, I don't know, man. Some people.
Well, I mean, let me say like this: if I was managing you, Chris, right? I'm your manager. I'm looking like Suge Knight. So I'm going in and I'm muscling these guys, right? We're doing that. We're Lukey Knight, right? I'm not going to let you go in there with an unproven guy who's going to make you, if you lose, you're going to go down to $20,000 if you're making $100,000. As a manager, my job is to make your money stay the same or only go higher. So I think this is a big disconnect for boxing fans, and they don't want to hear it. But to be a good manager, you don't always put your fighter in the good fights. You make sure that they're financially set, because they're no longer – boxing is a sport where it's a sport, but it's also an investment. The fighters are investing in themselves, and the managers are investing in the fighters. And once you get to certain financial tiers, if you allow someone from a different financial tier to face you, you risk the fact if you lose or look bad, your financial pay could drop. And in these times, who's to say people's salaries will remain the same when the budgeting criteria might be different? So that you could be looking at being a $100,000 fighter, and I have no information, but going down to $15,000 or $20,000,
right?
But you're getting a layup fight, and then you get knocked out because you didn't train well, and now you're coming off a knockout loss. You're making $8,000, and that's all in the span of 4 months. While the world is essentially everybody's broke. So I think that that's something people need to take into consideration, because if I was managing you, Chris, we're going to get the money. We're gonna get you paid, and we're gonna put you in positions to make the best moves to get you more money.
Yeah, and like you said, by definition, and really supposed to be anyway, in theory, by law, that's what a manager's supposed to do. And people like to talk like normal, or not normal, but people like to talk facts when it comes to other stuff, or they like to talk about, capitalism and socialism and all that political stuff, right? But then when push comes to shove, that person has a job to do. And especially, like you said, in something like this, where we don't know what a couple of months is. I haven't been spending a bunch of money right now, been at home and stuff, but I'm not about to put it towards something right now, because it's like, I don't know what it's going to look like in a month or two, and if it will be back to normal or some form of normal. I guess that's the way we should look at it. But yeah, these are all really good points, man. And
imagine if there's a second wave, right? So, like, imagine we have, like, 3 months of boxing. Right. Then people are like, we figured out what this coronavirus is. Imagine, and I'm just throwing this out there. I'm hoping this doesn't happen, but imagine if there's a mutation to the virus, because I was looking at history, and the Spanish flu mirrors what we're going through, where it was like, okay, it was rough for a bit. Then the summer hits and everyone's going wild, and then the flu season comes, and then it's like it was twice as bad because people didn't take it as serious.
When you see that spike, that second spike of that I saw that chart. I was like, oh my God, dude, that really went bad.
Yeah, pretty scary. But like, I mean, I'm hoping with modern innovations we can curve it. I know our scientists are tremendous, and I'm just listening to them. But what I'm saying is, if you're a fighter right now, you need someone around you that can say, bro, you might only be getting this one paycheck for the rest of the year. So if we can get you in from June to July, we're getting you in there, and then you got to sit on this money, and you got to figure out a place where you can be safe. Because I'm looking at it right now as my birthday's in October. I'm not getting a birthday party this year. That's how I'm realistically looking at this year. It's looking like I'm going to be doing a Zoom party, and I'm playing a little bit more golf than I would, because I'm assuming by September, I live in California, a little bit more conservative state when it comes to coronavirus. I'm mostly positive there's going to be a form of shelter in place in September or October in my state.
Yeah, I mean, and for anybody out there that's completely washing that to the left or right or whatever, I mean, these are just potential facts here. Like, we don't know. Like you said, you don't know for a fact, but history tells you with this stuff, and there's been a fair amount of this virus stuff over the years, and not just 100 years ago. We're talking 10 and 15 years ago. Yeah, you're right. It definitely could happen, man. It definitely could happen. You got to have that mentality. No matter what, you got to have a mentality of, hey, today it's okay. Let's just look for tomorrow and hope the best. That's all you can do.
Yeah, man. So, I mean, that's that. And then before I get out of here, man, because I know you got a bunch of listeners and I'm hogging up the line on that, I want just to tell you about some young fighters that are coming out that I think are really talented. Of course, everyone on your platform probably already knows Gabriel Flores Jr. with Top Rank. He just signed with Jay Prince, who's an outstanding boxing manager. But I think that everyone that listens, and yourself included, you should really be paying attention to Gabriel, because I don't want to compare him to the fighters I see him fighting as, because then maybe someone might look at him and judge him based on those fighters. But as someone that's seen him for a long time, I think he's a very special fighter and someone that's going to influence boxing. And I also want people to keep your eyes out on Matchroom Boxing's Otha Jones III. I call him OJ3. A little facts on him. Do you know about Otha?
I mean, a little vaguely. I don't know a whole lot.
Let me sell you on him before I get out of here. He fought in his pro debut? He fought a guy that was signed to Star Boxing, I believe, who was 5-1. So that's his pro debut. Fights in the UK, beats someone up, flies home, and takes a fight the next weekend in Providence, Rhode Island. So we'd have to go back and look at one of these old boxing historians to find someone that fought in Europe and then fought in America the very next week. But, I mean, he's got the mindset of a dog.
He must. He must have a schedule like that.
So I'm just saying, before I get out of here, if you find anything that I find, the way I speak, which it probably sounds like I'm a white guy trying to be black or something weird. Everyone says I talk funny because I've been around a lot of different types of people. But if you find anything that I like amusing, Chris is amazing connoisseur of boxing, please check out those two fighters, because these two fighters, I strongly believe, in 5-6 years, they're going to be guys with M's next to their name. And we're talking about millions, and they're going to be guys that you want to watch. So just check them out and see if you like them.
All right, man. Definitely. We will do that. I mean, obviously, it was 16 when he turned pro, right, Flores?
Yeah, he turned pro at 16, signed a contract, but I think it's better to think of it as he was 17 years old when he entered the ring. So he entered the ring a few days after his 17th birthday, because I think it's unfair to him because he never had the fight at 16 years old. He signed the contract at 16, but just for the
no, I hear you.
I'm talking. I'm just talking. I'm saying a lot of words just to hear myself.
Well, I appreciate it, man. And you hang in there in general. And like I said, really kind words, man. You really, I'm not usually speechless, and I kind of am, so I appreciate it.
Well, you just keep doing your podcast, because not that I ever have dark times, because I feel like I'm a very resilient person, but your program is something that throughout my life over the last decade made a funny noise right there. I've remembered going to gas stations to get gas, and I'm listening to your program. It's I'm going to make a funny comparison, but it to me, this is a very heartfelt way of saying it. I hope it doesn't come off wrong. Your show to me is fond, like listening to an old thing on the radio that has some static and some bad reception to it. There's something real heartwarming to me that do you know what I mean? Like, a lot of these people, they want something that's real high tech, but there's something about when I listen to your show, it feels like I'm with my grandpa in his truck, and we're trying to get the signal, and we're not sure if it's 90.3 or 90.5 or 90.7, and we just find the best one where it sounds right, and it's just a couple of guys or a guy talking. And I've just always loved your program. So I just wanted to, and I'll get off now, but I just wanted to call in unprovoked and tell you how great of a program you have, and that I just love your show. And I just wanted to do that unsolicited, because I just saw you were doing it, and I was going to tune in anyway, so I just wanted to do that, and I appreciate you, Chris.
Well, like I said, thanks for the kind words. I like your the detail on your description. That's you hit it out of the park. And I got way more than 16 bars, so I'm happy too. All right, buddy.
If you want, I'll even give you a little rap too. But sometimes we do pace styles.
I'm not gonna turn it down.
Shit! Now I gotta do it.
It's like 100 bars, like game and shit, dude. I mean, how many bars you got?
Fuck. All right, I'll give you just something. So, I came from out the gutter like a ninja turtle. When you try to chase your dreams, you're gonna catch some hurdles.
Nice.
I'm lazy
like
tonight. That's all you get.
Hey man, that's all.
I'll
That's
talk to you later.
All right, man. You take it easy. Peace. All right, like I said, Lukey Boxing. Follow him on Twitter. At that, Lukey Boxing, itrboxing.com, or go to the YouTube, like he said, Google, do your Googles, ITR Boxing. That's ITR Boxing, YouTube, podcasts, interviews. Like I said, you can follow him on Twitter, all that good stuff. Like I said, thanks for the kind words. I really appreciate that. Since we were kind of on this DAZN thing, and just to get a little bit more detail about what's going on in general, this is from the Financial Times. And, it says DAZN, the streaming group is looking for cash to help secure the future. The group's owned by Len Blacknick. What was it? Blacknick? I can't remember how to say his name. It was already going to be an uphill battle, like I mentioned, without this pandemic. And this one is pretty serious stuff here for us boxing fans that hope it hangs around. And, don't get me wrong, DAZN does get some anti-stuff, not nearly as much as, say, the PBC did when they first came, because that came pretty heavy through the media as well. But there's plenty of people out there on boxing Twitter that will shit on DAZN, but then not, shit on Top Rank or PBC or whatever. But yeah, it's here's the article here. The London-based company has in recent years spent billions of dollars, of course, for the rights of live sporting events. Netflix of sports, like they said, that's their brand that they want to, do basically. They did defer payments that it owed to leagues live, because citing there's no live action, and you wonder if that's gonna catch up to them as far as, like I said, even getting a Thursday night game like Amazon has, or getting the NFL package like DirecTV has. Will they look at that and go, well, you couldn't, that usually that's not the case. That you're still gonna pay, but maybe you can work something out, like a lot of these leagues are gonna have to do. If you look at NBA and they're regional, same with hockey and every other sport, really besides, I guess NFL, because they don't have regional like that, but there's a regional like Fox Sports. There's like 20-something of them up here. It's FSN, Fox Sports North. And, they have to, the NBA has to hit like 70-some-odd games in your local market to, as part of the whole contract. So NBA is going to have to give some of that advertising money back. So I don't know. I know there are some underlying things, but we'll just keep giving you a little bit more information. 2 years ago, the company was valued at, it says $3 billion, but it's not. I don't know the exact rate because it didn't say that. When it sold a 10% stake to Japanese advertiser giant Dentsu for $300 million. People familiar with its business said it's currently unlikely to reach a similar valuation. Research group Enders Analyst has estimated DAZN financial commitments on securing sports rights total $3.7 billion, but it's not the exact It's not in U.S. dollars, so I don't know the transfer over there. But like I said, I remember when it's 5 years, $6 billion. So that's 1.2 if you do the short math. And that's without an investment to parts of the MLB rather than that, that show that they have, that whip around show. And just to give you an idea of all this stuff, whether they could buy, like Amazon did, I'll fill that in a little bit. Amazon, has the Thursday night stream game and like I said, DirecTV, the package and all that. Just to get that MLB whip around show, it costs $100 million a year. So this is like they've invested a lot in boxing, but they'd have to invest way more to be in another decent sport, even to get a little partial of it. It's not like they're going to get the NBA or the NHL or any major sport, and like it'll all come through the DAZN. You know what I mean? So it does help that they have an agreement in Canada and other places where they've taken the NFL through that, but it'll be interesting here. But let's just go a little bit further in this. In recent weeks, the group has approached big media companies over a potential investment, including John Malone's Liberty Global, but has yet to receive little interest in a deal, according to people familiar. The company has sought to challenge established sports broadcasters, of course, Sky Sports, ESPN. Among DAZN's biggest deal are domestic screening rights for the Germany and, like I mentioned, the Italian Football League, which is pretty dope. We know what they do here. But here's the DAZN chief executive, Simon Denier. This is the biggest disaster to hit the sports world in 75 years and the biggest challenge of our business, that it's faced. That's what he wrote. It's gonna be a rough one. It goes on to say, in 2014, the Access Industry fully acquired UK-based Perform Group. That's what it used to be called, the Perform Group, that it turned to DAZN. They obviously sold out a betting, like a stat. It's called Stats. Or actually, no, they sold it to Vista, which owns Stats. But the sale of Perform content was to Vista, who owns Stats, like I mentioned. The group hired Goldman Sachs last year, seeking to raise $500 million, according to the people familiar with the terms, but paused because of course, the pandemic. They're at a crossroads at business, a leading executive rival broadcast group said. If it's a success, it'll be a great story. If not, yada, yada, yada. It's really a crapshoot if it's going to actually last. And you have Eddie Hearn coming out talking about, we just saw Bob saying that, especially for pay-per-view, the pay-per-view price is going to have to come down. The fighters are going to have to take less. I get all that. You know what I mean? I get some of that. I did mention, is he going to take less of a percent out of the fighters? Cut two. But then you have Hearn saying, boxer, this is from Keith Eidig, like 4 days ago. It says, Hearn, boxer's purse is completely out of control. Part my fault, part the DAZN's fault, and then part other stuff too, right? Other promoters and whatnot, networks. But when we talk about overpaying, this is like on a different level of overpaying. Now you'll see boxing fans who are, boxing Twitter regulars, you'll see them talk about, damn, I mean, $10 million for that Garcia Vargas fight, or 12 to 15 million for Golovkin against who? And whatever, 12 million, 10 million for Jacobs and Kovalev, and I mean, it's one thing to pay 30 some odd million a fight for Canelo, but then you got to pay his opponent. And so, yeah, dude, it's I don't know. I remember though Eddie Hearn. Now he wants to say, it was a necessary sacrifice, a fledgling streaming service. They had to start aggressive. We get that. We do get that. Although you used to say, you didn't really say that about Al Heyman before. You said that you would just say, you got to make money on your events at some point, and it's got to be, you can't just keep bleeding money, and just a variety of things that he used to say about it, and the media would pile on as well, not just articles, but also just talking about it ongoingly on social media in general, which is like sometimes about half as much of the exposure for anything when it comes to, if you talk about it on boxing Twitter, it gets spread like an article. It's not like you have to have all the articles in the world about subjects, but it is kind of funny, how he went around it. But it's like we don't want to stop paying fighters great money. They deserve it, but we just got to make sure they deliver value, not value for us, but the customer, and value for the broadcasters and all that. And I do, I get that. Oh, you want that money? Well, you got to fight a top 15 guy. But then what top 15 guy is it? Are we talking about a top 15 in the WBC or IBF? Or, the whole point is when people were flipping out in the media over and over again, when Al would pay someone $1 million like Danny Garcia, or guys that could actually sell some tickets, or have been in big fights and their guarantees went up, or whatever, like an Arislandi Lara or whatever. They used to freak out when it'd be like, what we know anyway, two guys making $1 million fighting each other, and we know it's probably a little bit more than that. But as far as what's been released through through of course the athletic commission, but I mean, this overpay is just on some other stuff, and it's happening. I mean, I love Devin Haney, but what's he get, $1 million a fight? Demetrius Andrade in his last fight, didn't he get $2.4 million or something like that? I mean, I'm all on board for making fighters, or making money for the fight, having the fighters make money. But man, like, this is beyond any kind of overpay that he ever did, and I've totally brought up, Fury and while their guarantees were too big because of DAZN, though, to try to keep it, so you don't, you keep your client, so it's pretty intense. Some of these numbers that are thrown around, and like I said, it just, I don't know, man. This shit's way overpaid. We're talking way overpaid. And even if you give these guys $5 or $10 million combined for just a good fight, I think Jesse Vargas and Garcia was a good fight, right? On paper and in the ring. But so you're still going to pay $10 million for that. And it is funny. I mentioned that last week that what's his first name? John Nash, I think it is. How he asked, like, well, are you going to get bent out of shape when people now want Zuffa Boxing to buy the whole sport of boxing and then have Eddie Hearn run it? So it's okay when it's those two, right? But it's not okay when Al Heyman is maybe setting up a monopoly. That's a problem. That's a problem. But when it's not them, no, it's not a problem. And you see this throughout. But yeah, I don't know. I hope it stays. Like I said, I don't want to go over so much material that I've done in the past on DAZN. But let's just put it this way: I still see people say, "Well, they were at 800,000 before the pandemic." That's just not true. The most that we've heard they got to was like 800,000, 850, and that was for the rematch fight with Anthony Joshua and Andy Ruiz. They got a spike, a big spike with Alvarez, right? And then a week later, they had that K-Sai Logan Paul, so that was a spike. And those people that signed up had it for a month, so they were going to watch that anyway. And then, of course, some people kept it. The Canelo casuals probably kept it, or at least Canelo fans in general. Some of the casuals maybe not. But when you look at it, and then there was a sign-up again, or somewhat of a sign-up, or at least people holding the subscription for that Ruiz and Joshua fight, and I thought it was good planning that way to, you know, if you subbed, because they said the other two times that they had Canelo, you know, Canelo fight, at least 40%, if not 45%, not all the way to half, but almost, turned around and you know, got rid of it the next month. So to keep that was really good. And what was it, 750,000, somewhere in that range, 700,000 for Canelo Jacobs. Watched that and had that. We're talking about December. So when January comes around, January, February, March, now there was some good fights that you and I are going to watch, but as far as the casuals, they're not going to even know who's fighting barely. You could say Ryan Garcia, that may have had a nice little spike, but when they've had spikes in the past, they usually, the information comes out or they usually tell us, you know what I mean? So, I don't know, man. It wasn't in March, it wasn't at 800,000. Based off what they've told us in the past on their numbers. And it's really about chopping that tree down. And so you get subscribers for Canelo and you try to keep as many as you can. And then the next go round, you try to do that. And I like the idea of the fight season. I think they got to definitely stay doing that. That's for sure. But there's no way it was at 800,000 in March. It's just not a fact, you know. And once it hit, there's definitely no way. And the people that were loyal subscribers and the people that put out $100 for one shot for the whole year, I've seen plenty of those folks not happy right now because they don't have content. And, you know, they're just taking their money. Now, in the end, you know, you are allowed deposit, but I haven't seen that yet for people that paid $100. I was still grandfathered in with the $9.99, and I don't know if it's going to go, like if I can tweak it when I bring it back so it doesn't charge me $20, or if I can just give them my $100 right away. I'm still kind of in limbo on Roku right now on that, but you know, people aren't happy with them because they were really vague on what to do. Like I said, if you're a monthly, they gave you a heads up, hey, you know, you're about to get charged more if you were, you know, grandfathered in. So they give you a heads up on that. But I saw plenty of people, you know, in forums, on Twitter, you know, in Facebook groups, yada, 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 talking about, well, and even some of the media members talking about, yeah, I haven't heard what they're doing with the $100 subscribers. So hopefully they give them the 3 extra months that they didn't get anything per se. Live content anyway. Not that it doesn't have archive, but you didn't sign up for the archive. You know what I mean? Obviously. So I'm not here to, I don't know, man. Like I said, there's been so much, the sports business media has done a great job on this. There's so much information, but yet you just get the spins when it comes to boxing media. You get Eddie Hearn on a show and they'll say, oh, we got to do this, we got to do that. And, you know, I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and say I don't, you know, it's tough. It's going to be tough. And even with the roster they had, they need Ryan Garcia to be a star, big star, not just Instagram, or they need a guy that can draw, you know, a couple of million when he fights, as far as at the gate when that can happen, and just get big, you know, so you can put him the next month after Canelo, and it'll incentivize people to stay with, and that's going to be needed. Mikey Garcia is going to even have to get bigger. He's got a nice name, no doubt, but he's going to have to get bigger. I like the fact that they've also released the information about the West Coast, and especially California, has by far the most percentage-wise subs. And so you got Mexican-Americans, Mexicans. Yeah, it makes sense to get Mikey Garcia. It makes sense to have Ryan Garcia. So, and obviously Canelo and what you know, some other fighters that they have coming up too, because they do. I mean, Virgil Ortiz is with Golden Boy, so they're DAZN. So, we'll see where it goes. I'm hoping it does, but it's an uphill battle. And if this was Al Heyman in the PBC, there would have been many. I mean, it was after a couple of months people listening to Main Events and Kathy Duba and her daughter and all this, saying all this stuff that didn't really line up, and many other people. But it's just funny we don't see the same wave of digging the graves. Now, maybe they've learned their lesson. That's cool. I doubt it with some of them. I think it's purposely not happening with some of them. I think a chunk of them are getting paid by DAZN. Maybe not a direct, hey, we're giving you $20,000, but their platforms are definitely getting some ad money, and you can just see it. I mean, Coppinger is a perfect example. And I like Coppinger to an extent, but, like, you know, he's just so pro-DAZN now, it's unbelievable. Like, he literally said, when you say something to him on Twitter, he'll reply if it's something that's not right. He's good at that, actually. And he'll get you back. You know, I've seen him do it. I've seen him go back and forth with me maybe once in a while. But I tweeted him because he said on his DAZN podcast, or, well, you know, whatever, the Athletic podcast, he said that they should have found a way to put Wilder and Fury 2 on regular TV. That's what he said. You know, and like I said, the amount of money per event, small, medium size, even some of the large ones, the money they lose, it's unbelievable. And yeah, and like I said, it's not my pockets, but why the hell were you so deep into Al Heyman's pockets? You know, well, we know that question, but I really hope it doesn't. I really felt like they found their groove. I don't know if they would have survived anyway, but I really think since last April they found their groove. Like I mentioned, the fight season, they have some young fighters. I don't know where Golovkin's at totally, just, you know, right now after that, you know, Derevyanchenko fight, if he was really sick or if he's finally went off the cliff. Clearly they needed Canelo and Golovkin. Maybe they can get that in December. You'd think that if that thing, what did it do, 20 million two separate times? I think it was like 27 and 23 or something. They need the gate for that one. But maybe they'll be in a position where they're like, fuck it, dude. Let's just do it, you know? I would be surprised at that. But speaking of Eddie Hearn, we'll just kind of blow into that. Pause. I don't know where I blow into that topic. I'm not sure. But anyway, well, and I mentioned Amazon re-upped their Thursday night. Fox does Thursday night NFL games, and it's something that they somewhat recently purchased. And Amazon does Thursday night games too. So, you know, they just re-upped for this year and next year. So that won't even be something that they could get to spawn new subs to bring in new money. They'd have in the money they'd have to pay for that would be substantial too. So that's what's kind of messed up with all this stuff. You just don't know, and they got to wait till next year. Well, to secure the rights to the NFL package, because the DirecTV they did re-up, but I think it's only got 1 year anyway on it. And obviously those. You can have ongoing negotiations before, like I said, a year from now. But, you know, if they were even to get those, there's no guarantee with those, obviously. But they need something like that. It can't be – let's just put it this way. If it's just boxing, I'd be surprised if they made it just on boxing. I mean, Ryan Garcia would have taken a huge step. You know, it would have taken a huge step. Clearly, Golovkin and Canelo would have already fought. I mean, to me, just to make it on boxing alone, that'd be tough. That would be a tough one. I can't sit there and say it would. So renewed Amazon deal for Thursday night. It's exclusive late season. Oh, and a late season Saturday game too. I thought I had a little money information on that, but I don't think it's out there just yet. So yeah, we were talking about Eddie Hearn a little bit. You know, a lot of people were basically saying, you know, AJ was done too. when he lost. And I never said he was done. Can you look at it? Can you question it and stuff like that and go, I hope he's okay, and, will he come back from it, that type of thing? Well, that is different. But, man, like, people kept saying, Wilder, take step aside and just fight the winner. Wilder, take step aside, fight the winner. And that's cool if he did that. I wouldn't rip him. I also wouldn't rip him if he wants his rematch, because it's in the contract with Fury for the trilogy, right? But to me, it's just funny now that it's not going to happen, and we know it. We've known it for quite some time, but, there would always be some sort of, and some of it was from Eddie, some of it was from other places, but discussions, negotiations, which is going on, what's going on. But, all in all, and Bob Arum recently said this too, and now we know for a fact Eddie basically was like, I'm not going to agree to fight Wilder after that. He said it. Well, so why would Wilder step aside just to lose a Fury fight? Well, what if Fury loses? Well, then they'll give me a rematch there. Like, the part of the step aside in this position, when you have a shot at the champion and the lineal champion right now with Tyson Fury, when you already have that. By the way, there's 4 minutes left. 646-381-4990. That's 646-381-4990. You can call in, and then you'll listen to the rest of the show. Otherwise, you can check it out on archive. No big deal. But, he's basically – so he wasn't even – so he wants, Wilder to take step-aside money, but he wasn't even going to agree to have him fight the winner if AJ beats Fury. So it's kind of like, well, that's what a lot of people, media and fans, were saying. Part of it, hey, dude, just fight the winner, but step aside. Maybe take a confidence builder back, get in the gym, work on some stuff. But how it's so funny, and this is not just to pick on Eddie. This is promoter stuff, but it still needs to be talked about, like I said, with all this stuff. Just like I talked about how Bob Arum has misled us on Pacquiao Crawford for the last few years, so many different ways that it just got disrespectful, And so it had to be brought up. Well, when you hear about Eddie Hearn, like what? It's really funny how all of a sudden, if it was AJ on the other side, it'd be a different thing, of course. But listen to what he said. I'll let him say it, okay?
Yeah, but everybody's on the same page to make those fights for 2021. 2 fights. And I'm really confident you'll get.
He's talking about Fury AJ. 2 fights.
Has
2021.
categorically come out and said he's not stepping aside? Is that a fact?
Yeah, and I think Bob Arum said it in an interview at the weekend where he said, look, I don't know where this number's come from. There's no discussions for him to step aside. He said in interviews, I'm not stepping aside. And with everything happening in terms of the uncertainty over the future of the world, let alone boxing, he's not going to want to step aside. And we don't want to also enter in a deal where we say, when we beat Tyson Fury, we have to fight Deontay Wilder and he has to get 4%. Deontay Wilder's out. He's done. He's just a voluntary challenger. So we want a clean slate where we can go into a deal with a 1-fight deal with Tyson or a 2-fight deal. But when AJ beats Tyson Fury, we don't want an obligation to fight Deontay Wilder. What's he got to do with it? He's done. He's beaten. He's just been knocked out. So if he beats Tyson Fury,
So he's done. He's beaten. Oh, okay. So he's done. He's done because he got knocked out, even though his fighter got knocked out too. Standing, by the way. But I expect that. I don't think that's IFL TV, by the way. Just to give him credit. It's funny, and I know. I mean, he probably wouldn't want that. He probably would want to go into a second Tyson Fury fight, of course, with AJ. And I understand a good portion of what he's saying. I expect him to say that, but in the same breath, it's just kind of funny. It's like, okay. So I mean, wasn't that the whole? Isn't that step aside money? So just step aside, and then you never get a shot, even though I had. What's Wilder got to do with it? Well, he does have a contract, dude. That's what he has to do with it. And everybody online, for the most part anyway, they thought that was part of the deal. Like, cool. Step aside, Wilder, cool. Bam, you know what I mean? Get out of there. And you'll get your rematch, You'll get your rematch, but let them do it. Let them fight first. And that's the fight everybody wants to see. You can work on some stuff. So, yeah, it's a little weird. There was a tweet about DAZN and some of the expenses that they had outside of just boxing. In 2018, DAZN outbid WeWork to sign a 10-year lease. So that tells you how, when you sign a lease, obviously you don't have to just be in there. It's not your whole company per se in there anyway. But a 10-year lease for 51,000 square feet of office space on the 71st and 72nd floors of the One World Trade Center. A few months later, they doubled their monthly subscription, yada, yada, yada. That tells you how much they thought they were going to be here. That's for damn sure. That's just a little, that's excessive. But, hey, why not? If you lease it out, that means you can, someone else could move in, too, if you had it. So, but whatever. I don't know, actually. No, I take that back. But obviously they were thinking that they were really going to put their foot down here because who doesn't want to be in this market? It consumes the most, out of any country. So, yeah, of course they want to do it. We got so much sports and entertainment in general. By the way, as far as boxing's return, here's a little bit of news. The Nevada State Athletic Commission has a meeting May 27th tomorrow. And it's for Top Rank, the June event on the agenda. The governing officials, this is from Jake Donovan from BoxingScene.com. The governing officials in Nevada will hold its first commission meeting in 3 months, fittingly to determine whether or not boxing can return to Las Vegas for the first time within that same period. So tomorrow, basically, they're going to have some stuff. June 9th, June 11th, a couple other dates as well, is what they've been kind of talking about here. Also, Frank Warren did say he's back. He's going to start up in July, it sounds like. ESPN, this is from Keith Eidick on Boxing Scene, ESPN to air Alex Saucedo against Sonny Fredrickson June 30th from Las Vegas. That's a nice little part. It sounds like that'll be a Tuesday night. And by the way, I'm going to have to tweak my schedule because it sounds like a fair amount of these ESPN fights are going to be Tuesdays and Thursdays. That's what it looks like on paper right now. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do. If I'm going to do them on Mondays, or if I'll do it on Wednesday, or if I split it up to 2 shows and just shorten the shows, and so I can do some preview and some recap, and then I'm not sure. I got to kind of feel it out when it comes to that. By the way, RIP to heavyweight boxing champ Ken Norton. He died at 70. RIP, big time. Wow, that's crazy. That light at the end of the tunnel will be official by tomorrow when they probably, I'm assuming they're going to prove all this stuff. Stevenson has a new opponent right now, by the way. It's not going to be who we thought it would be. I don't really know. I know the guy's name, and I believe I've seen him fight somewhat recently, but I got to do a little bit more research just to make sure on that one. But like I said, I know what Lukey was saying too. It's kind of like, let's just get it back rolling. Some of them are going to be good fights. Some of it's going to be stay busy to fight in a couple of months. It's really about how long a camp you can have. Let's talk a little Mayweather, Devin Haney, Gervonta Davis. Now, there was this video of Mayweather training Gervonta, Haney, and I think it was Broner. And I think those were old because I don't think it was Broner recently. I'm not sure. I don't think it was Gervonta recently either. But it definitely was recently with Devin. And he's teaching them little minor stuff and going over stuff. And, I'm sure people started to relay that message to Gervonta, and I'm sure he wasn't happy. because, hey, that's one of my competition, man. It's like a main competition down the line. And here you are giving them pointers. Now, we know Mayweather and Gervonta haven't always been on the same page for a variety of reasons. I think you could probably blame both. I'd probably blame Gervonta a little bit more, though, because of what he's done to his own career that has nothing to do with Floyd. But Floyd has some blame in there, too, whether it's not being an active enough promoter or sometimes, Gervonta can be kind of a quiet dude with short answers, especially he's getting better, but especially a few years ago. But overall, so I could see, Floyd filling in some of those blanks, but sometimes the press conferences became about him too much, It's almost like years ago when Tyson took the mantle of that guy's promotional company. They did a show here in Minneapolis too. And, after these shows once in a while, I think they did one in Connecticut too, it'd be about Tyson talking about himself after the fight and stuff. And it's like, this is getting a little weird. But anyway, I heard something about when, Davis is claiming that when my contract's up, I'm not going to be with you. But this is some quotes, some tweets and whatnot. He said, I've been doing well by my lonely. Both of their ass are ops anyway, opponents. I'm ready to fight whoever, including Floyd. That's not trolling them facts. He also goes on to say, I was going to do camp in Vegas, but now that's over. So, not the happiest about it, which I can understand. I mean, that is a rival, and but I mean, Haney's based in Vegas. Haney grew up in the damn gym. Floyd Sr. was his guy, and it does sound like I think he was going to work with Floyd Sr. a little bit, and from what I heard, that Floyd actually doesn't want Floyd Sr. in the gym right now, or maybe not as much or whatever, so he filled in for him. I'm not totally sure how that went, but obviously Haney has a sizable contract. I think right now it looks like $1 million a fight. It's tough to say. I'm sure it'd go up if he fought someone with a bigger name or whatnot, but he's with Matchroom USA / DAZN USA, because that's that company. So, some people are like, is he tampering? I don't know, but we'll see. It's been real hit or miss up and down between Floyd and Gervonta. Like I said, a good chunk of it is Gervonta's fault because of the outside of the ring stuff. That has not much to do with Floyd. But Mayweather has some blame here too, and we'll see. Adrian Broner. Adrian's still on strike. He's still on strike for that $10 million that he claims he wants, and if he doesn't get it, he's going to go independent at some point and just wait it out and go get a title himself. I mean, Al's been very generous to Broner, and to credit Broner as far as popularity. He's had a lot of his antics make him popular too, and at one time, years ago now, but at one time when he was at 130, 135, and to a lesser extent, obviously, at welterweight, but he was making noise not just from his antics either. He was getting it in the ring. Now, if he can make 140 or 135, which is a big old capital if, I think he'd be a different fighter at that weight. I think he's proven that. But he now says he's going to be a rapper. I'm on strike for $10 million. I want to be a rapper. So, hey, good luck to you, man. Go for it. Why not? Why not just go for it? I don't have a problem with that. Kind of fits you perfectly, actually, because you can rap a little bit as well. I mean, I'm not saying a little bit like I can rap a bunch, but yeah. So yeah, that's a little update. We're not going to spend a bunch of time on it. Jake Donovan actually a little bit more boxing updates. I am going to go over that top 20 Uncrowned Champs article that someone sent me, and I couldn't open it for some reason. I will read some Rick Glazier tweets that'll make you chuckle. Shouts out to Lukey Boxing, ITR Boxing. Google them shits. Use your Googles, YouTube, the website, the podcast, yada, 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 all that good stuff. But May 30th, this is Jake Donovan, May 30th, Santo Domingo is to adopt WBA safety protocol. So it sounds like boxing will proceed as planned this weekend in the Dominican. I think it's on, I forgot what it's going to be on. I'm pretty sure Jake talked about this too. What is it going to be on? I think let me just double check the article real quick. Hopefully it says it in there. Sorry about this. I thought I had it ready. I was wrong. ESPN Deportes at 11:30 Eastern. And then if you have ESPN Knockout elsewhere, all over the world basically or something like that. But yeah, ESPN Deportes is going to be on, just so you know. Jack Cloquet is back on June 12th in Berlin after an event application approved. So that's pretty quick, June 12th. That's always good. Aram says he doesn't want Stevenson to vacate title unless he knows he's staying at 130. I mean, that makes sense, especially when you can just jump up and jump down, you know what I'm saying? That's just a little headline that I read. God, what was I gonna? Oh yeah, let's talk about that article. And I think I remember reading this article a little while back, a few months back, and someone sent this to me, and I never try to claim to be the boxing historian by any stretch of the imagination. But this is the GruelingTruth.com, which, like I said in the beginning of the show, boxing, football, baseball, everything, basketball. I mean, CFL, for Christ's sakes. We got hockey. They cover everything at the Grueling Truth. I have 3 podcasts that's on the podcast network. I usually, throughout the year, send 2 blogs, prediction blogs for college football, then college basketball and the NBA stuff. And, of course, boxing on a weekly basis pretty much. But this is the top 20 uncrowned champions in boxing history. I'll start, down the list. I'm assuming, Burley's on there, top 3 at least, I'd hope. But here we're going to start out with Billy Graham. No, not that Billy Graham. But it says Billy Graham had one of the best chins in boxing history, a brilliant left jab, and was a master of range and timing. Graham kept a busy schedule in his 14-year career. Some of his wins were against, but not limited to Kid Gavilan, Basilio, Patty Young. So, I mean, I definitely heard of him. I think I've seen him. I want to say, was it Gavilan? I think I saw that fight. Jack Chase. Not too familiar with him. Sounds like he had a bunch of regional titles. Some of his wins were against, but not limited to, Aaron Wade, Lloyd Marshall, Harry Kid Matthews, Archie Moore, Eddie Booker. Definitely heard of that name, that's for sure. Jose Basora is a guy that I definitely heard of. Some of his wins, like you said, Jake LaMotta, Civic. Now, some of these come in the prime, some of them don't, whatever. But LaMotta and Civic right there alone, really impressive. Holman Williams, Henry Brim. That's pretty impressive. Eddie Booker. He fought Archie Moore, Harry Kid Matthews, Johnny Bennett Romario. And this is, along with Charlie Burley, Archie Moore called Booker the best fighter he ever fought. So, I mean, 17, maybe Eddie Booker should be a little higher. Billy Petroli, the Fargo Express. Nice. I like that. I do remember that nickname. Petroli was feared by some of the boxing's all-time greats because of his bloodthirsty battle tactics. Jack Kid Berg, Cuddy DeMarco, Jimmy McLaren, So yeah, that's 17. Jack Blackburn. I'll kind of move a little on. Lloyd Marshall. He actually beat Burley, he beat LaMotta, he beat Maxim, beat Charles, beat Freddie Mills too. Now, I don't know this when he actually fought those guys, like I said before. But damn, just fighting those guys, even if they're, I'm not gonna say if all of them were at the Twilight, but damn, dude, like that's pretty intense. You'd assume that guy should have a belt. Kid Norfolk. I don't believe Tiger Flowers. Okay, I've never heard of him. That's at 13. 12. Willie Joyce. He beat Henry Armstrong, which obviously is a damn good win. Almost whenever you do it. Willie Joyce at 12. 11, Jimmy Bivens, not Michael Bivens, but Jimmy Bivens, 15-year career. He conquered many of the era's world champions and many more Hall of Famers. He didn't shy away from many of the era's deadliest punchers. Archie Moore, Charlie Burley, got Lloyd Marshall, Eddie Charles, Edward Charles. Man. This, God dang, it's freezing up again. Sorry about that. Wesley, I can't really read that because it's the way it's. Okay, there we go. Wesley Ramey. I don't know him. He's 10. I'm not familiar with him. At least, I don't. Chino Alvarez, he faced. Benny Bass. Coco Kid. I've heard that name. Tony Canzanieri. Lou Tendler at 9. I'll keep it moving a little bit. Joe Giannetti, take on Sam Langford. Oh, wow. Beat him. Huh. Coco Kid, we just mentioned him. He fought Eddie Booker, too, which we mentioned him. Holman Williams is on the list, too. That's 7. 8, Tommy Gibbons. I was wondering when he was going to come. I definitely know Tommy Gibbons. I mean, to an extent, anyway. Harry Greb, George Chip. George's Carpenter, Kid Norfolk as well. Holman Williams, we talked about him a couple of times already. Beating Burley, Archie Moore, Eddie Booker, a lot of the guys we mentioned. Packy McFarland. I've heard the name, but I don't know him that much. He's 4th on the list. I got to look into him. Mike Gibbons, that makes sense too, because the St. Paul hookup. Henry Greb. Chuck Williams, 3. 2nd. Okay, here we go. Charlie Burley, 2nd. He beat Holman Williams, Archie Moore, Jack Chase, Coco Kid, and then number 1 is Sam Langford. So that's a really good list. I like that list a lot. Kind of interesting. Buddy Gibbs, by the way, is the guy behind that one. So that was kind of interesting. Jose Ramirez to begin training this week. This is about 5 days ago. This week for a Victor Postol fight in July. And this is one of those fights that may get to happen because it was already done. That'd be the 3rd reschedule, too, which is pretty freaking crazy. You know what I'm saying? That'd be pretty crazy, dude. That would be pretty crazy. That was cool. I like that. I think it is about time to get into some of this boxing Twitter and news stuff. Well, Ryan Garcia, he started a new YouTube channel. He actually was like impersonating Tank on the pandemic. And he had this big pillow as if he had a big belly. It was pretty funny. I got to admit, it was pretty funny. I've gotten on him for obvious reasons, but he is entertaining. He's pretty funny, actually. I'll give him that. Now, he's talking about how the lightweight rivals for him will be like Duran, Hagler, and Hearns. And the Four Kings, of course, but he said this on the Stars and Champions show on the Impact Network. But Lomachenko stands out. Obviously, Davis, Haney, Lopez, they stand out too, but not as much as Lomachenko. I don't know about all that, but he's saying that it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be like a throwback, Duran, Hagler, all that. There's a lot of interesting fights. He kind of breaks down the different styles and all that. He thinks Tank is going to be, his Sonny Liston, where some people think he's going to knock him out. But, my personal opinion, what I really want to do, I really want to fight Gervonta Davis. You know why? I see him as Sonny Liston, which that really doesn't line up because Sonny Liston isn't. He was looked at like the baddest man on the planet. Gervonta is not looked at as the baddest man at 135. It's kind of open. Besides Lomachenko being the most established fighter anyway. Not even at 135 per se. Well, yeah, he still is. He don't really love boxing. I see that he loves the money. So he don't need to be world champ. Unlike Muhammad Ali, I need to be world champ. He can't represent it like me, so that's my attitude coming into it, and I'm ready to prove these words. And he talks about a lot of people that doubt him, and I don't doubt him when he says that, but some of the stuff comes from his own doing too. Obviously, some of it becomes that exact thing. So I don't know, man. But yeah, I really want. It doesn't sound like Linares is going to be the opponent now. Maybe, it wouldn't be Cano either. I heard people talking about that, but I don't think that. Here's some other news. We just talked last week or the week before about Bob and how maybe both of them, maybe Lomachenko wanted to stay busy, fight a tune-up now, because if they fight in the fall, it'll be over a year, maybe not well over a year, because I think he fought in August, if I remember correctly. But that we're anticipating some interim, fight, stay busy fight, then they fight in the fall. According to Bob Arum, a chunk of days ago, they've turned down interim bouts, and they're planning to fight in September. So they're saying, screw it, I want to go right to them. And even though Bob, like I said, offered them, it sounds like they're going to say, screw it. We're just going to go. Forget the crowd. This is what Bob said to Boxing Scene. We wanted to stall for time until we were able to do it with a live audience, but it's clear that each of them want to do it, want to go right into that fight. So we're planning September with or without audience. Arum, of course, would, it says prefer to state the fight, with the crowd, of course, but he estimated anywhere from $1 million to 1.5 at ticket revenue, which I think is about right. Not that I know more than Arum when it comes to that, but that does sound about right. I think it would do $1 million gate. Obviously, we would love to do that fight with an audience, but it is what it is. And we've heard a lot about it being a pay-per-view. I would assume it's going to be pay-per-view. So, because if they're not making money on the gate, well, as we know, that money's got to come from someplace. So I'd assume that would be the case. Let me just clean up some of this new stuff from, where is this from? Rappler.com. Pacquiao wants Crawford fight in 2020. That's what the Philippines-based item is saying. I've talked to Manny via Zoom. This is what Arum said. First time I talked to him face-to-face in a while. Well, that's about right, at least. Now you go spread a bunch of information, false information about him, and now you're finally doing a face-to-face. Manny was getting ready to go to bed. It was morning in California. He was ready to go against Crawford, I guess. Manny's ready to do that and fight. We'll try to do it out of the United States. Mackay, the Middle East someplace. I've heard Australia. I've heard a variety of places for that. Mackay Pfeiffer. I think that's what I was thinking. Macau. Manny wants the fight to happen this year because he's running for political office next year for the presidency. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. I hope there's a big fight. I'll tell you that. I do hope that. All right. Before I get to boxing Twitter. Let me just make sure there's not some news that I'm missing. Oh, this is actually funny. Eddie Hearn, this is what Teofimo Lopez, this is actually what Teofimo Lopez said about some of these guys that he's trying to fight. Or that, they sent offers, but we didn't hear anything. That's what he said in his garage.
To let everybody know the Loma fight will not be happening due to the fact that he's in Ukraine.
And this is an older video. So this isn't something that just a couple of days ago when they said it's going to be on.
They traveled on. They did a ban on traveling, so he can't come back to the U.S. We tried to make a fight happen with Devin Haney. They haven't came back to us.
So that's what he said. He said Devin Haney. They're trying to make, we tried to make a fight. They haven't come back. Eddie Hearn said, you must have put an S on the Hearn because no one has ever capitalized, reached out about a fight with Haney. WBC and IBF unification if you want. Neck, let's go. It's a hell of a fight. But he's calling him out. Haney was like, oh, now he hasn't, he called me out, but it wasn't true and stuff like that. So some of these fighters will talk, but it's not real talk. We've seen that many times again. And sometimes it's lying, too. I mean, let's be honest. But I don't know which one's which, but my guess is they didn't send something out, an offer to fight Devin Haney next to get ready to fight Lomachenko. That's just using logic. Now, that doesn't mean it's 100% true, but it just kind of really, it doesn't really add up. Speaking of Teofimo's pops had some choice words in general. Here's a quote from Teofimo's pops, Sr. Tell you the truth, the fight with Richard Commey concerned me more than the fight with Lomachenko because Richard Commey, at least he has a puncher's chance against my son. We took care of business, we took care of the situation, and now we are going to have an easier fight with Lomachenko. So you're going to, is that a second or third round? Was that a second round knockout? Third round? Second round? So it's going to be easier than that. And people are always going to talk because we are going to make it look so easy. We're going to make the fight look so easy that next day everybody's going to say Lomachenko was already done, that he was too old, and those 400 amateur fights that he had and the amateurs caught up to him. It's always going to be something. That's just how it is. We are just going to keep beating up whoever they put in front of us. That's fair. But to say it's going to be easier than Commey, just stylistically, I disagree with that. Bob Arum knows we're real. Bob knows that we are going to change Top Rank. We're going to help Top Rank. I told Bob Arum from the beginning, when we beat Lomachenko, you're going to have your next Manny Pacquiao. The company does not need a $2 million fighter. This guy has been with the company for 7 years. What has he done for the company? Nothing. $2 million a fight. Get out of here. Bob Arum needs another $20 to $50 million fighter, and we're going to give him that. And Teofimo is going to be the face of boxing. Everybody in the world is going to be talking about Teofimo within 15 fights. Wow. Who did they say the other day that what fighter came out and was like, I said it on the show too, I just can't remember. That he came out and was like, I'm actually going for Teofimo because Lomachenko is just arrogant. It's like, oh yeah. So it's just Lomachenko that's arrogant. Gotcha. Okay, I may have a couple of news items in here, mixed in, blended in, but it's mostly what some people are really digging this segment. Boxing Twitter can be a great thing. It can be a fun thing. It's kind of the great, the good, the bad, and the ugly, but it also can just be a very degenerate thing. It can also just make you laugh. It can make you go, are you fucking kidding me? There's a lot of things it can make you do. But some of these tweets tweets that you frickin' see and hear, they just have to be addressed. And sometimes, like this one, Ugas. You know, a lot of people are kind of rallying behind Ugas, which I think that's fair, but I don't think he's been screwed over either. You know, a lot of people are like, oh, he should get Spence next. Well, I mean, he worked his way back. He had 3 losses, and he worked his way back, and Al kept giving him opportunity, but also Ugas is the one taking some of them on short notice, stepping up. I think he won a handful of fights in a row, 5 or 6? And then some people thought he beat Porter. I would have been okay with a draw. I did think that Ugas coming forward in that fight, not to say that he had to throw, 82 punches around, but that's not his, on the higher levels, that's not his best trait. He needs a guy to come at him a little bit more. And maybe Porter knew that, but don't get me wrong, Porter didn't throw enough either. So that's why it's kind of a stalemate. I didn't see Ugas cleanly beat Porter. But in the same breath, I didn't see Porter cleanly beat Ugas. But here's Ugas anyway. The first time he became a title contender was 2 years ago, and Spence had the title. But as I have said several times, while I want to fight the best, I'm not going to be obsessed with names. I can beat him. I can beat him all. I can beat them all. I'm making my name, and all the boxing fans know it, and it just says Ugas after it. And it says Ugas, for 2 years I've been asking for the Spence fight. Well, I mean, I think that's fair to an extent. He did get a title shot, if we're being fair. He was beating decent to quality guys, some pretty solid guys, and then he started stepping up even more. He took care of Figueroa fairly easy, I'd say. And like I said, that Porter fight could have went either way. But let's not act like it was just hands down an easy fight to score or something like that. You know what I mean? It was tight. He didn't overwhelmingly, in my opinion, you disagree, cool. But I didn't see that part. But a lot of people, there has been a swell of, they're screwing him, dude. Well, they did get him with the Porter fight last year. And he's been on Fox, I think, 2 times now, and a few times on FS1 in this comeback. What was he, 18-3 at one point? And like I said, I was really impressed. Perella, he beat, I think on short notice. He jumped in and beat Delorme. He's been, beating some solid guys. Like I said, Omar Figueroa. This last summer he bounced back against. But he worked his way up as a contender and fought pretty damn good on the way up and also against Porter. But to sit there and say, oh, he got screwed, were they supposed to support or what? Were they supposed to match Ugas with Spence after that fight? People would have been complaining about it, but I can't sit there and say Ugas has been getting screwed and they keep blocking him out, and I'll start to see that on Twitter. And I know a lot of that is just anti-Al because it's like, come on, dude. I think Ugas has done pretty good over there at the PBC. See, if you're honest about yourself, because even that Delorme fight, I believe it was the Delorme fight, that was in front of over 2 million people because that was on the undercard, the Fox prelims for Mayweather McGregor. And then, it peaked at 2 million against Porter, too. So they've kept him active, something that, you don't hear people say about Al and Ugas. They've kept him active, and they did get him a title shot. And it's not like he's going anywhere. In fact, he was in line to be an interim guy. Ugas was already going to take it on a title fight of sorts, in this modern day. But he was going to get a title shot. And that would ultimately make him a mandatory at some point anyway. So he was going to get a title shot, but the guy he was going to fight failed a drug test. So I'm all pro Ugas, big time. I really like Ugas a lot, but I'm not going to sit there and be like, woe is Ugas. And he's not doing that either. But you see these fans, and they got an angle. Oh, God, this is a good one. This is a good one. The jab is the most useless punch in boxing, serves no real purpose, and makes fights boring. I repeat, the jab is the most useless, not like the most lost art or whatever, like it doesn't get used enough these days. Okay, cool. You got an argument there then. The jab is the most useless punch in boxing, serves no real purpose, it makes fights boring. Oh my God. Are you effing serious? And I don't go after like casuals left and right just because I know more than you and I watch more fights per year than you. I don't do that. But come on, dude. I mean, and you know what? That might not even be like a casual. He probably likes, maybe he's like a casual where, you know, it's like he likes like 4 to 5 guys and then a couple layers after that. And then, you know, I mean, oh boy. Oh my God. All right. So, this is, somebody actually sent me this. Oh, this is a response to Glazier. Oh, because I think Glazier was ripping. They were ripping. Of course, Glazier was ripping Al over. And I got one more than just this. Someone just sent me this one. So I remember this tweet. It was like him ripping that they're not doing enough during the coronavirus, as far as not necessarily giving money and all that, but product putting out there. When they've put out a bunch of stuff on FS1, FS2, they'll have like 4 to 6 hour blocks from time to time. Not to mention they put out stuff on YouTube as well. But he's saying, I think what he's saying, and this is Glazier, I think what he's saying is there's a disconnect between the PBC between the PBC brand and its diehard following. They are replaying a lot of old fights on Fox Sports networks, though. PBC also had nothing scheduled in 2020. I'm sure you'll say Al Heyman knew the Rona was coming. PBC also had almost nothing scheduled in 2020. For one, they've had the best schedule so far. If you look at the main events and their upsets, and it has been the best. But so funny. And that was like replying to our guy Glaze. Here's another tweet here. Bob Arum has been caught lying about Terrence Crawford pay-per-view numbers and Tyson Fury ticket sales. Al Heyman, PBC, has been caught lying about Spence and Wilder pay-per-view numbers. Well, Al Heyman doesn't do interviews. The PBC doesn't release them officially, nor does Fox. So when he said they've been caught lying about Spence and Wilder, when no one really knows the number that we know of, I mean, people know it, of course, but we don't know the exact number. But they got caught lying, dude. And this is the end of it. I wonder why both men lied to the public like that. Didn't Bob actually say that? Didn't he tell the truth about Crawford's pay-per-view? Oh, you know what he probably meant is that it's going to do $1 million when he said that earlier or something like that. I don't know. It's funny how the majority of people supporting Al Heyman and PBC are payettes. Or mayettes. God, this fucking cut off. I can't. Is that supposed to have a scribble on it? It's Mayaddies? Mayats. Oh, it's funny how the majority of people supporting Al. Okay. Oh wait, they're used to getting shit for free. Section 8. Oh wow. So he's saying the reason the majority of people supporting Al Heyman are basically Section 8. So they like it for free. And this one was, oh wow. This one was, thanks for sending me this, August 6, 2015. When, the BBC was dead. Anyone, and this is Tommy Roosh, anyone who doesn't understand that Loma would destroy Haney and Tank on the same night are fucking clueless. And then someone said, Loma stops both of them. Dog, on the same night, you really think. So I'm fucking clueless because I don't think he can beat Haney and Tank on the same night. Gotcha. Here's a funny one that someone just sent me, not really having to do with boxing, but still funny. It's someone texting back and forth. You guys have probably seen the meme. I'm a model on Instagram. And this dude says, cool, I'm a running back on Madden. I like that. That's a good one. I'm glad someone sent me that one. That was fun. Here's another one. Amazing how Glazier can go all these years spreading rumors that turn out to be mere fantasies, like Errol Spence being a vegetable. But yet, it's still a source for people to turn to. Yes, it is. It surely is, and it shouldn't be. All right, so we have some Rick Glazier tweets, folks. It's been requested. I'm delivering. I'm delivering them. Let me get a little water first. All righty, so here's the Glaze. This is a shout out to some of to the new followers on Twitter. To the new followers. Here's the personal hashtag I use, and he literally put hashtags but within a hashtag, which is kind of funny. To my new followers, here's the personal hashtags I use. Glazed, hashtag glazed, mean you've been outed as a fraud, factually wrong, or exposed for wrongdoing in boxing. Well, you've been frauded or factually wrong and frauded and outed. But yeah, so if you get glazed, that means you're a fraud, even though he's a fraud. Boxing, hashtag boxing 101 is used when you're likely learning from a particular tweet. Oh, okay, good. I'm glad he's Haymanites. Hashtag Haymanites are Heyman PBC worshipers. Thank you. Oh boy. That's a good one. So it's nice that he's like, allowing, like, teaching us the ropes to follow the glaze, man. Many of you asked why Wilder fight Fury. This is from May 3rd, by the way. If Fury was really cherry picking. What? Fury looked bad in 2 return fights. Heyman Finkel had Fury easy pickings, and Wilder Fury won. And Wilder was forced contract automatic rematch. Totally cherry-picking gone wrong. Now you know. Anyone that reads big-time internet sites needs to know a writer of an article is not the one that makes the headline for the article. I agree with that, of course. But here it is. He's saying the cherry-picking. That Wilder and Heyman cherry-picked Fury the first time. But Wilder was forced into contracted automatic rematch. That's completely bullshit. They didn't have an automatic rematch that was forced. I'm not saying that they didn't have a rematch clause in there, but it was a draw. But when you say it's a forced contract, automatic rematch, forced contracted automatic rematch, that's a fraud. That's a lie. That's bullshit, Mr. Glaze. It is, because we all know that they were going to do another rematch. The contracts were sent out. Fury even admitted he had it for about a week and didn't sign it. So if it's a forced contract, how the fuck could Wilder fight another 2 fights and Fury fight another 2 fights? Come on, Glaze, at least be somewhat in it. Okay, April 28th this year, PBC dead silent through the whole coronavirus shutdown. You wouldn't expect anything better from a guy that never speaks to the press than Al Heyman. But 88-year-old Bob Arum, he's doing interviews daily, as is Eddie Hearn. But no one speaking from PBC, not a good look. And this is the tweet. This is the tweet that guy responded to. And this is bullshit because they've been doing interviews. They've been doing, those streams and all that. It's just a way for him to fucking say it. It's just a way for him All right, one more great thing Wilder can do is take step-aside money, but if his team is against it, then you know they don't have Wilder's best interest. Oh, okay. It's all about themselves. Wilder has already stated publicly, I have some snakes on my team. We'll see how the saga plays out. Absolutely, Wilder should take step-aside money. Another good read from Steve Kim. So, listen to that. So, you know he doesn't have his best interest in mind. And the snake's in the grass, well, that must mean Al Heyman. Even though we know it's not Al Heyman. And it's also funny that the best interest, Wilder's best interest, but funny, I don't hear the best interest thing when it comes to him complaining about Pacquiao's best interest. Because remember, Bob Arum, in his heart, didn't want to see Pacquiao fight Crawford or any top-level fight because he worried about his long-term health. But then he turns around and says that. Someone just sent me this. This is kind of a funny tweet that's like, oh, is that how it goes? This entire lockdown situation essentially revealed everyone that's a huge pussy and wants to live like a good little slave and everyone who's not. So in New York, if you wear, or anywhere else, if you wear, something like a scarf or a mask, you're a pussy. I guess that's what this guy's saying. Why Mayweather headbutted, or why Ortiz headbutted Mayweather? This is a funny one. Right before the headbutt. Ortiz was doing good. He connected with right hook that Floyd moved his head into. Great shot that had Floyd covering up and going onto the ropes because, he's never been covered up on the ropes. And he doesn't cover up for dear life. Floyd was totally on the defense. Yeah, because Floyd's never on the defense. And Ortiz was able to throw anything he wanted instead of taking full advantage of the opportunity. This idiot launches a headbutt. So this guy basically was saying, dog, he had him. Dude, we all know why he got out of that fight. We all know why he did the cheap shot. We all know acted like he didn't know what was going on. He wanted out of the fight. He saw his eye closing up. Mayweather was throwing combinations. Come on now. Dan Raphael to the GGG boxing haters, Golovkin haters on my timeline. GGG was 345-5 as an amateur, Olympic silver, and as a pro, he's 41-1, 35 KOs, arguably 42-0. I don't think it's an argument in the second fight that you could. If you give him the first fight, you can't just give him the second fight. I don't think that's a good argument. Had a record-setting 160 title reign, is one of the greatest punchers in history. Are you out of your fucking mind? Who did he knock out, though? What do you mean, one of the greatest punchers? And never been dropped or visibly hurt. That's very true. He's got a great chin. He's been visibly hurt, but he's got a great chin. Especially the body. He competed, at 168. Blah, blah, blah. So this is actually someone's response. I'm a GG fan, but that's not his amateur record. He didn't really set any records at 160 because some of those are interim fake-ass belts, which the comparison to Hopkins was met with ho-hummingly. I'm not sure he's one of the greatest punchers either, though he's very good. Still, Golovkin formidable. I advocate for Golovkin. I think advocates for Golovkin. Wait, I can't read the fucking. Okay, I think advocates for Golovkin should look at his knockout streak, even if you argue about the exact level of quality opposition. The length of the streak stacks up historically. Okay. It is what it is. He does have a lot of power, no doubt about it. But, come on. Okay. Got a couple more, then we'll get out of here. Why did Mike Tyson duck Lennox Lewis in 1996 after beating Bruce Seldon? Which is not true. And it may, this guy, this is going to be funny. This is going to be funny because the way he pulls it, he acts like, oh, the Lewis fight was bigger at the time, which it wasn't. He's just going off numbers, but he's not talking about in 1996. In 1996, Lennox Lewis and Mike Tyson's mandatory for the WBC belt, but he paid Lennox Lewis $4 million to step aside. I don't know if he paid him to step aside so he could fight Bruce Seldon in a unification. And Lennox was promised a shot after the fight. But after beating Bruce Seldon, Mike ducked Lewis and dropped the WBC to fight Holyfield. Well, there's your reason why to fight Holyfield. The Lennox fight generated more money than both Holyfield fights. That was after Lennox fought Holyfield twice, which made him a star here. So if he would have went right into the Lennox fight, it wouldn't have done those numbers. That's what you got to think about when you're going to make that claim. The Lennox, like I said, the Lennox fight generated more than both of them. He doesn't mean both combined. And he means, the pay-per-view. Well, yeah, it did because it did, 1.99 or whatever. But that's after the fact, and he kept ducking Lennox until he was 36 and in debt. Well, he ducked him. Well, he got beat twice by Holyfield. So I don't know about that. Why is that? The baddest man on the planet shouldn't be ducking English muffin, the name Americans used to call Lennox since he was eager to fight Frank Bruno twice. That financing, he's not. It doesn't line up that way. Lennox wasn't that big until he fought Holyfield twice. We all know. DAZN is the luckiest platform because it has Canelo and AJ. Well, that's not luck. They signed him. If we got posters in the forum boasting about how good the UFC is compared to boxing, then we need to compare the context properly. If Canelo always does ratings and fans love to go see his fights, and given the world situation, what other alternative is there? This has actually boosted DAZN's retention theory exponentially. Canelo's metrics will come in some new form if there's no attendance. So DAZN made a good investment. Well, it's all over the place. There was some rumors about a post. I think it got taken down. I'm not totally sure about Canelo asking his fans if he should fight in Japan, because we knew that was a possibility. Maybe I don't think that'll be first. Oh, here's a and I'm not trying to cut down anybody trying to build their platform, trying to make some money, trying to grow the sport, whatever you're trying to do. I'm not trying to rip you out of nowhere, but there's a somewhat newer person coming back, or not coming back, but trying to build a sports agency, right? And they had a former CDO of Premier Boxing from 2014 to 2016. It was a digital guy, right? He helped them out, PBC, and basically it says, this Alex guy built and scaled their digital brand to 6 million size audience with over 100 million views across social media, which is impressions probably, who knows though. Today, PBC is recognized as one of the Americans' top boxing products on television. It is actually, if you look at the ratings and whatnot, it is the top boxing. But that's not the tweet that I'm laughing at. The tweet is someone tweeted about this interview that he had. This is the biggest interview from anyone ever at the BBC. So the guy that doesn't work there anymore, that definitely helped in 2014, 2016. I remember reading the Facebook article and all that early on. A lot of people on boxing Twitter just pushed it aside, which I thought it was pretty interesting. They did, the way they looked at the NHL to the BBC and how many viewers they got and all that. I thought that was really interesting. But this dude said this is the biggest interview from anyone ever at PBC. This individual article. Wow, that's really over the top. What else we got? We're about to close up shop here. Oh yeah. So this guy thinks Heyman's going to move all his fighters to the DAZN, and that's why he's getting with Devin. But Devin's clearly not signed there. But yeah, he says, dude, you can tell he's had a rough go at it because people around him has died. His daughter, with her antics. I mean, more than antics, but whatever. And this guy says, so yeah, he's going to be done with Heyman. He's moving all his guys to the DAZN, moving TMC fights there. Heyman has advised Floyd that Fox and Showtime have put a halt on PBC portfolio due to American City venues. Fox and Show work differently than DAZN, considering DAZN a little bit more liberal market, meaning they could do, fights all over the world, but you still got to go there. And you can't go there just yet. You're banned to travel overseas most of the time here. So that doesn't really make sense. So consider DAZN a more liberal market. Plus, Floyd just recently gave cryptic messages about PBC fighters in their upcoming earnings. He said that about a variety of stuff. He's been saying it for years. The time has come, folks. Heyman is finished. So Heyman's finished because Floyd's taking his fighters to the DAZN. So he's taking Gervonta and Badu Jack and a couple other guys to the DAZN, and that would finish Al Heyman. The time has come, folks. Heyman is finished. Blame the LDBC and their stupid race baiting in drug slanging across the internet. DAZN has won the war. That's all she wrote. Oh, boy. Some of these guys, man. Oh, here's Anthony Joshua with the tweet. This is actually a tweet someone retweeted. Oh, no, it's out of a British GQ. I got beat. I got beaten up to a pulp and had to pull myself back together. Now they're going to see the rebirth of me. Everyone writes me off in the division. And this is said recently, a couple days ago. But I believe I will go down as this generation is great. That's what I'm destined to do. And that's cool. I appreciate that. Dillian White, come on, Tyson Fury, you stole my Mando spot fight, the WBC fight. You stole it from me, basically. Are you a king or a coward like the Bronx Bomber? Let's do the fight. I'm ready. I mean, come on, dude. Funny how everyone wants to fight during COVID-19 when there's no other sporting events on. Also, I have a contract to fight with, the Bronze Bomber, and obviously, What's His Toes has a fight too. So that's kind of funny. I think that Frank Warren told me, I don't think Matchroom want to push AJ into a Tyson fight. And it means Fury. I got a gut feeling they don't want it. I think there's a reason for it. I think Tyson's the best heavyweight on the planet. If Tyson, which I believe he will, beat AJ, then they've got a problem. I mean, we'll find out. I'm not going to go into that one. Okay. One more, then we'll shut it down. Fox no longer interested in Wilder. PBC needs YouTube channels to stir controversy. Fox told Heyman and this came with no source, of course. Fox told Heyman they are no longer interested in Wilder, that he would be better off on Roku Wednesday at 2 a.m. for fights. And Espinoza has reportedly said he wants to sign Wilder to a 5-fight deal, 5-year deal for $73,000. Oh, this guy. Okay, I'm going to get out of here, guys. Enjoy the week. The weekend. We'll be back next week.